So maybe what we'll do today is a quick summary of last week's, and then we'll move into this week. So last week's topic was what is wealth? And this week's topic is seek security within yourself first. So last week we mentioned that wealth is really a state of mind. You can have very little and yet feel that you have got everything that you need and you don't feel deprived of anything and you feel wealthy. Or you could have a lot of wealth and still feel that you haven't got enough. You haven't got the ability to spend, in which case you are poor. So wealth is really a state of consciousness rather than the actual dollars or assets that you will have. The other point we talked about was developing money magnetism depends to a great extent on understanding how to use money. Money is a flow of energy, and when we hoard it, as in we want to keep it to ourselves, we don't want to spend it, thinking, oh no, I might need it for a rainy day. Of course, using common sense too. But if we hoard it, unable to spend it in any way, that money gets stagnant, the flow of energy gets blocked. So if we can see money more as energy and as something that flows, then it allows us to magnetize money to us. Money or wealth is not something that we acquire, but it is something that we attract to us, to draw to us. It's a bit like energy. You know, when, say you're feeling lethargic, and then you use your willpower to go off and do something. And what you will find is once you get the energy moving, you feel more energized to do other things, as in using energy brings you more energy. And so, if money is energy, you can apply that same principle to money. But if you think, oh no, I've got certain amount of energy and I don't want to make myself tired, so I'm not going to do anything, you will find that not using energy actually depletes your energy. Because there's an abundant supply of energy in this universe. And likewise, there's an abundant supply of wealth in this universe. And it's only a matter of magnetizing that wealth and using it in a way that benefits you and it benefits a reality bigger than you. Because we are all part of a bigger reality. So that brings us to today's topic, which is seek security within yourself first. And I'm going to get, Bernie's going to share something on the screen. And those of you who are sitting in this room here, you might just have to come around to see what's on the screen. I just thought it'll be a fun way to start.
I could just see Shelley looking, what's that? And she smiled. And she smiled.
You can take that off. that photo was sent to me by a young friend of mine. And it just gave me an insight into her mind. But
Karen's just written accurate description of every day at my work for me.
So I want to start with a little story, and this is a true story. There was a man, and this story comes from New Zealand. There was a man, and he was interested in buying a dairy. So when you buy a business, or when you want to buy a business, what do? You go to an accountant who will tell you whether this business is worth buying or not. And so he goes to an accountant, and the accountant requests previous year's financial statements. And so this dairy business supplies the accountant with maybe 3, 4, 5 years worth of accounts from the past. And this accountant looks at these statements, and he looks at the revenue, and he thinks, oh yeah, it's not a huge trend going up, but he can see that, okay, the revenue trend is kind of going up. But then he also sees that the cost of purchasing the products that the dairy was selling was also going up. So really, it was kind of like there was no exponential increase in any revenue, but it was okay. It wasn't doing too badly. And then the accountant calculated what they call return on investment. Like, if I invest X dollars into this business, at the end of the day, how much profit is it going to give me, and then turn it into a percentage. And so he calculates the return on investment, and he comes up with a few other formulas, results, and basically advises this client that this was not such a good buy at all. And this particular client disregards the advice of the accountant and goes ahead and invests in this business anyway. Few years down the track, he purchases a mini supermarket. Either purchases a mini supermarket or converts what he had, the dairy, into a mini supermarket. And then not long after that, he ends up running one of the big chain supermarkets and is now a multimillionaire. Now, what I want to look at is, what is it that the accountant was looking at that made the accountant give the advice that this was not such a good business to buy? The accountant looked at the past information, the historical information, and accountants by training are taught to be conservative, as in when you projecting into the future, try and increase your expenses and decrease your revenue to be on the safe side. So as in, don't give a very optimistic forecast. That's one of the principles that accountants work with. And of course, they work with history. So what the accountant was working with is the facts that he had in front of him, which was history. And from the history that he had, he projected into the future. And of course, the return on investments where you then compare that, well, this investment will give you 5%, and plus you'll be putting in a lot of your labor for which you're not getting anything. And if you maybe have the funds invested in XYZ funds, it'll give you this. And so based on those sort of comparisons, this investment did not look lucrative. Now, what the accountant wasn't really looking at was the enthusiasm and the energy that this client had to make this business into a success. Because this enthusiasm and energy that this person had could not be measured. All along, perhaps this man knew that this was just a stepping stone. And while in the short term it did not look like it was a very lucrative business to buy, he was looking much, much further ahead. And in yoga, we have this principle that energy has intelligence. And so our responsibility is to get the energy moving rather than to work out all the details about X percentage return on investment. And I mean, yes, we do that too. We want to use our common sense, but that's not the only thing that we want to rely on. Think of money as energy. And if you think of money as energy, how do you want to use that energy? Knowing that energy is intelligent, and once you start using that energy, it will open up, it will show you what your next steps ought to be. Have I lost anybody, or you with me? Swami says that whenever we will something to happen, as in when we use our willpower, a ray of energy goes out that is projected by the power of our thought or will, and that energy in its turn generates a magnetic force field. And it is this magnetic force that attracts to us the object of our expectations. So one of the stories is Paramahansa Yogananda in 1925. He wanted, he saw this hotel that was for sale, and the hotel once upon a time was a very fashionable hotel, but it had gone past its use-by date, and it had come up for sale. And Paramahansa Yogananda thought, this would make a really good place for the headquarters for Self-Realization Fellowship. And even before he bought it, he invited his devotees and dedicated that land for their work, well before they even bought it. And then when the time came to buying it, initially the price was $65,000, and he was going to sign on the dotted line for $65,000. And he says that, but his hand froze. He says, God stopped me from signing. And then the sellers came down in price to $45,000. And remember, Yogananda did not have any money to put down. And this was a $45,000 piece of land. And in 1920, $45,000 was a lot of money. What might be, in today's terms, 900,000. I'm just guessing that number, but it was a very large sum of money. And so one of the devotees said that 45,000, that'll take us 20 years to get there. And Yogananda said, it will be 20 years for those who think it's 20 years. It'll be 20 months for those who think it's 20 months. And it will be 3 months for those who think it's 3 months. And sure enough, in that 3-month period, he managed to get the full sum of 45,000, and to this day, the building belongs to the and the land belongs to the Self-Realization Fellowship. Imagine if Paramahansa Yogananda had said that, once I earn enough money and all, then I will go and buy this piece of land. No, he just knew this was their piece of land, and he put an intense thought out with which he magnetized what he needed. So with great concentration, great power, we too have the ability to manifest our expectations. When we did the course on intuition, or some classes here on intuition, one of the techniques we learned is to bring your awareness to the spiritual eye and send a beam of light out from the spiritual eye. And this is our broadcasting station. And we can send this strong thought out into the universe. The universe is conscious, and the universe responds to us. Sometimes it might respond to us with a no response, which could mean that maybe this is not quite the right thing to do for you right now. Or it could mean that you just need to put out more energy in order to make something happen. Sometimes we can be too quick in thinking that, maybe the universe doesn't want me to do this, that's why I'm having all these obstacles. But maybe those obstacles are just there because we just need to put out more energy. Of course, we need to use our discernment, but a strong thought can create a strong magnetic flow of energy. There's a very famous quote of Henry Ford that you may have heard. He said that whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. So it just shows how much our success or otherwise is actually determined by our attitudes. Positive expectations creates a positive magnetic field, which then makes our expectations come true. Negative expectations create a negative magnetic field, which then brings to us negative results. It's actually quite simple. One of the things that I thought would be helpful as we go through this course is if I kind of did a little came up with a few questions that you can self-reflect on. I don't need to know your answers. So far I've come up with one question. And I'm still working on it. So this is what I came up with. What is my predominant state of mind when it comes to money? And then I've written, you can select more than one answer. I'm still working on it, but so far I've come with these options. A, I don't think much about money. B, I don't think much about money. I can bring to me what I need when I need it. C, I have enough for my needs. D, I have enough for my needs, but my life will be better if I had a little more or I earned a little more. E, I don't have much, but I have enough to meet my needs. F, I'm wealthy, I have more than what I need. G, I'm wealthy, I can bring to me what I need when I need it. H, I'm struggling, I haven't got enough. I don't know, did you feel that you could relate to some of those? So do you think if I kind of just made a few questions like this for self-reflection, that might be helpful? Because sometimes, things, when we hear, it can seem like, yeah, this is a good idea and all, but then we kind of do nothing about it, and then nothing really happens. You've got to experiment with some of these concepts to see how they work. When in the early days of Ananda, they were having spiritual renewal weeks. They've always had spiritual renewal weeks. It goes on until this day. It was a tradition that Master started when he was still alive. They were called convocations, and Swami Kriyananda called them spiritual renewal weeks. And in the early days, there'd be about 25 to 30 people who would attend these. And every year, Swami would say, this year we're going to get 200 people. And then again, they would get 25 to 30 people. And the following year, Swami would say, this year we're going to get 200 people. And once again, they'd get 25 to 30 people. And this went on year after year. And the others at Ananda thought that Swami's just, being unrealistic. The fact is that we only really get 25 to 30 people. And Swami's response was, if I did not say that we were going to get 200 people, we would not even get 25 to 30 that we are getting now. So by him saying that we are going to get 200 people, he was actually creating a magnetic field which will bring more people. As in, when our expectations are high, our expectations are positive, we will naturally put more energy, right? If you set the bar too low, then the chances are you are less inclined to put out any energy. So say if I'm having classes here and I might say that, oh, well, I'll probably only get 2 or 3 people. And if my expectation is 2 or 3 people, the chances are I'm probably think, oh, I won't bother doing any advertising. I don't need to do any of that. Oh, I won't bother sending any emails. But if my expectation is that, oh no, I'm actually going to get about at least a dozen people to this class, then I would put out more energy and say, oh no, maybe I should send out an email. Maybe I should, put some little extra money on Facebook and, I will put out energy. If my expectation is that I would like more people to attend this class. And so in anything that you do, think about what are your expectations. Are you expecting that you will succeed in that which you are doing, or have you set the bar too low for yourself? Or have you thought that, oh, I'll give up even before I've started because it can never be possible? it's good to kind of just, reflect on some of these attitudes. Julian and I have been trying to organize this retreat in Rotorua, and at first sight, it just felt like, oh, this is just too hard. The finances were just not working out for that particular retreat. And for me, it seemed like nothing was working out. And then one or two bits of new perspectives came into it, and all of a sudden, now it looks like it's all working out. So, when you don't want something to happen, and in that particular case, I had got into that state of mind where it just felt too hard, and it was very easy for me to say, oh, just drop it. But by just putting a little bit of extra energy, we realize that, we can actually make this happen. So, when things look too hard, before you say that, no, let's just drop the whole idea, it might be a better solution to say, I'm just going to take a break for a day or two on this matter, and I'll come back to it, rather than, no, we can't do this. Think saying yes before you say no. In that case of Master buying the Mount Washington property, he said yes first, and then he worked out how to make it happen. And this is something I too have to learn, because when things look too scary, it feels too easy to say, let's just drop the whole idea and go back into your comfort zone. Let me see what else I've got there to share. Has anybody else got anything to share at this point?
Somebody gave me some advice about an interview which I thought I really didn't want it in, and she said to me, don't make up your mind yet. She said, listen, go along and listen, and what happened was not what I expected at all, but it's made me think that there really is a good option for me that I wasn't expecting, because somebody said to me, wait, listen.
Yeah. Whenever you're in that state of mind which feels less than positive, less than resourceful, it's best not to make any decisions. But wait. Wait for a little bit more information to come. Wait to talk to somebody who's got a maybe positive outlook, more positive outlook than you have, before you say, no, let's drop the idea. So right attitude is everything, because right attitude is what puts us in right relationship with the universe. We are all part of a bigger reality, and we all have a role to play. Jesus said, to him who has shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him who does not have, even that which he has shall be taken away. Now, what is he actually referring to? Truths that are mentioned in the scriptures are true at every level. They are true at the level of spirituality. They are true at a material level. They are true at an energetic level. As in, truth is true no matter whether it's at a spiritual level or at the level of ordinary consciousness. And so what does Jesus mean when he says, for those who has, more will be given, and for those who do not have, even that which he has will be taken away? So from a material perspective, this is what I came up with. If you have money, you can use that money to gain more money, right? People say that money allows you to earn more money because you can invest it in various projects and then it brings you a return. So you could invest it in shares, you can invest it in real estate, you can put it in some fund, some business venture, and as long as you've made good decisions and with the right consciousness, you will attract to yourself good returns. So that's at a material level. For those who have, they will have abundance. For those who have not, even the little that they have will be taken away. And I interpreted that in the context of money magnetism. If you don't have very much, then whatever little you have, you probably will just use it up, consume it, right? And it'll be gone. At an energy level, there's a saying that if you want things done, give it to a busy person. So, because when we put out good energy, that is, when we use our energy in a way that is beneficial, we have energy to do so many things. People who have a lot of time on their hands often will not get anything done. Because the less energy you put out, the less energy you are willing to put out. So once again, that statement of Jesus, that to him who has shall be given, and he shall have abundance, but for him who does not have, even that which he has shall be taken away. So you can apply that to money, you can apply that to energy, you can apply that to faith. And then at a spiritual, yes, I've said that at a spiritual level, those who have faith see the presence of God everywhere. And those who don't have faith, it's like, prove to me that your God exists. So, who are we? We are children of God. And the more we identify with that as our reality, the more we can then begin to feel closer to this concept that everything that God has is mine because I am a child of God. And that material success affirmation that Paramahansa Yogananda wrote starts with, "Thou art my Father, success and joy. I am thy child, success and joy. All the wealth of the earth, all the riches of the universe belongs to thee, belongs to thee. I am thy child. All the wealth of the universe belongs to me, oh, belongs to me." So the more we can identify that I am a child of God, God's world is abundant, I am the child, and that abundance is mine too. Because often I hear, sometimes myself saying as well, and other people saying that, I haven't got enough, or there's, what are we affirming? We are affirming lack. And if we are children of God, is that the truth? That there is any lack in our lives? So I think the more we can affirm that we are children of God and we have the right to the abundance that He has, and then put out the right energy to draw that abundance to us, we will live actually very wealthy lives, not just in monetary terms, not just in material terms, but we'll live rich lives overall. Spiritually, we'll live rich lives. joyful, happy, living in gratitude, all of those superconscious qualities will be ours. And money is the least that we will draw to ourselves when we start practicing some of these concepts. Okay, any questions?
You're right. If you don't believe, it's never going to happen, is it?
No. So, positive expectations. And affirming a reality will not make it into a reality. We must remember that we have to put out energy. Otherwise, we can affirm prosperity as much as we like. But if we're not going to put out the energy to draw that prosperity to us, nothing will happen. So, sure, affirmation comes first because everything starts at the level of thought. And then what needs to happen for it to come into material manifestation? We have to go through that next stage, which is the stage of putting out energy. So causal world, astral world, and then the last is the physical world. By the time something manifests at the physical level, it has been happening at the level of thought, the causal reality, for a long period of time. So if you feel that you are very, very poor, there is a very high chance that you have been affirming poverty for a long period of time. And what now needs to happen in order to change that reality is start changing things at that causal level. That means at the level of thought. That material success affirmation, I only kind of recited about a third of it, but there's another couple of paragraphs there to go. It's really worth memorizing. The first two bits of it are quite easy to memorize. The last bit is a bit tricky. But give it a go, and that affirmation is in that Scientific Healing Affirmations book. But you can also, if you don't have that book, you can also find it on, if you search Paramahansa Yogananda's Material Success Affirmation, it will be somewhere there on the net. So start at the level of thought, put out energy, and then see what happens in your physical reality. So next week we'll be looking at principle number 3, which is don't limit your demands. So I think that should be an interesting topic. So we'll finish there. Some singing.